All right, and we are here, Videoguys Live, Tuesdays at 3 p.m. We're going to tell you all about the products we sell, the technologies we use. Today's show, not about products. I don't think we mentioned a single product in the whole show today, Oliver. No. Today's show is about making your productions better and what to do. So I want to get into this camera. We call this the Gary's Making a Point camera point of view when I'm really stressed to the audience what's going on. And I want to stress that in these days of not being able to have trade shows, you've got to understand that your audience on a live show isn't the same thing as someone walking by your booth in a trade show. You've got to be more engaging, more captivating. You've got to keep them and hold them on. So how do you hold them on? Here it comes, our do's and don'ts for trade shows. So let's start right away, Oliver, and roll it with it. Number one, value your audience's time. People have about a 50-minute attention span. That's why if you go watch a TED Talk, TED Talks are limited to 18 minutes because they did all these scientific studies and they said, hey, that's the amount of time people will give you. So make your time count. And then one of the things I want to stress as a don't is, I love that. I hope we don't get in trouble for it. So don't leave it on too long, Oliver. Talk about yourself. Don't talk about yourself for the first 15 minutes. There's something that people have to understand. If someone's tuning in live to you, and it's a virtual trade show, or you're doing a product launch or whatever, these are a captive audience. They know who you are or they've searched out the product. For you to start the first 10 or 15 minutes talking about your company, the year you had, the stuff you did, your corporate retreat, you're going to lose your audience. If you're promising some big story to your show, you got to get right into it. And you got to get into it quickly. If you don't, you're going to lose your audience. Why? Because people are multitasking. I have it right here. It's my second do on this page. Do assume people are multitasking. My other thing is if you're going to be running your show for longer than that 15, 30-minute time, break it into segments and put a schedule out so people can tune in for the stuff they need to know. So maybe you're doing a trade show and the first thing you do is new products. Maybe you can have another section where you talk about your new channel strategy or new distribution partner you went with. Or perhaps you want to do something where you introduce some of your new sales team, or you're coming out with a new product category. Maybe you're a company that makes medical supplies and now you're getting into some other widget or something. You know, whatever that is, break it into a schedule. This was a great schedule that Paul at Stream Geeks did for the Worship Summit. It's a great thing. I also recommend build in a break for lunch so people can, you know, have some time. People have to go to the bathroom. Don't assume people are going to sit at their desks for 2 or 3 hours paying attention to what you have to tell them on a live stream. Why? Because it ain't going to happen, folks. The next one's real important. Do not do death by PowerPoint. I am at too many live events where people have PowerPoints that go on and on and on with fonts that are so small you can't see them on the screen that it's just a horror story. I want you to remember, can you bring up the next slide? Bring it up full screen. I'm going to talk over it. Folks, this is a funny slide that we made for you. The next one, Oliver. Oh, I have to do it. The death by PowerPoint slide. I don't expect anyone to actually be reading the slide. Let's come back to me on it, but it's a great little cookie. And if you go back in the show and you want to read what's in there, we have a lot of cool, interesting, fun stuff on how bad it is. But what you got to understand is when you have people watching your show remotely, first of all, they may be on their phone. And if they're on their phone, they're not reading something that's in font 12 along the bottom. Keep the slides, use your slides as your guide, your outline for what you're doing, but do not kill people with PowerPoint slides that they don't want to watch. Next, biggest tip of all to keep people going, don't be a talking head. Don't just sit there as a talking head. I go like this. This is my emphasis camera. If this was the camera I was going to be on the whole show, you'd be turning off in about 2 or 3 minutes. Even if I had great lower thirds popping up like Video Guys is the best place in the world, doesn't matter. You're not going to watch the show. You want to see different camera angles of what's going on. So we use multiple camera angles. So if you can see there, we're actually going to go through those angles now, right, Oliver? So the first angle is the straightforward angle. That's our CX350 camera that we use for the wide shot. We will also use this for different levels of zooming in on different shows and different outlines. The next one is the one I told you about, my emphasis camera that's over here. And then we also use this camera. This happens to be a PTZ camera, so it shows us a couple other shots. So what are some of the other shots it's going to show us? Let's show them this one, Oliver. This is our Z-Cam photo. This is the one we use when we have product things we're going to show. Now, I don't have any products on the table right now, so we don't have to show you what that looks like. But you know, we'll show you that when we, like, if you see on this screen, that's where I had all the different hard drives lined up. And then we also will do a shot. That's our product in tight shot, like I have here. Hey, here's this great hard drive. You want to get this hard drive? It's the greatest thing in the whole world. There's your tight shot of it, or a Ohio State Cup, whatever you're going to go with. So by mixing up your shots, once again, 2 cameras giving you 3 cameras giving you multiple different angles, makes the show go better and look better. And that's how you keep your audience too, by cutting frequently. You know, if you're staying 3 or 4 minutes on the same exact shot with the same exact slide, you're losing people. Next, use multiple layouts. Now, we have been using multiple layouts from the beginning of our shows, going back as we refine, but we found some layouts that we use all the time. Now, some layouts really lend themselves to specific content. Other layouts are just for different shows we do, or for different formats. When we had to go remotely, we needed a different layout for the remote versus the in the studio. But what I want to do is, if Oliver, if you could play the little video we put together. This is just a video of some of the different layouts we've used over time that we have. So this is one where I brought in a remote guest. This is the one I'm using now. We also have layouts that are a little more focused in. This was from when we had to be remote, so we were bringing the show in on Sling Studio of me. And there's the layout we had with Paul of PTZ Optics, who did a great job with us towing over the different uses of the PTZ. And this is when we brought our whole team in for a show, showing you how to integrate Zoom into your show. And this is one of my favorites, having Dr. Cross on the show with a live product at the same time. So we've done some cool stuff with multiple layouts. And even better than multiple layouts are multiple guests. So, you know, having a guest on the show just adds so much to the performance, and it allows you to do it. So we've had guests here a bunch of different ways. We've had guests on here where we've had guests who are brought in remotely via Skype. We've had guests that are here standing next to me. We've had guests who have come in via Rendezvous with Wirecast. The thing about a guest and a talk of a show, now this is even if you're doing a trade show, it comes across as being a lot better when you have different people to talk and banter about. So a lot of trade shows will say, you know, I'm the VP of sales, and now I'm going to bring on my product manager who's going to talk about the product. You stitch to him with his PowerPoint. Boring snooze fest. How much better would it be if you had some interactivity between the two of you, the VP of sales and the product guy going through his PowerPoint? Break it up, make it a little more interesting, interject a little bit, while still giving a great feel to the show. Lets it move better. I know some of our highest rated shows with the most viewers are the ones with guests on them. Plus, I think those shows just come out great. I love having guests on the show. And anytime you can have a live guest, it's just going to pick up your show, make it a little bit better. Next, I want to talk about, do bring in multimedia and engaging graphics. We are bringing in some video clips later on the show you're going to do. We always bring up graphics, lower thirds, pull a lower third up as an example to show them what we do. But one of the things is, don't let your graphics block your content. So you're going to bring up that lower third. As you can see here, we've positioned the content, the screen, so that the lower third can be down here in front of me, and it's not overlapping what's there. Now, some shows, we run into a little difficulty where the lower third will be on top of the table product. So we'll bring the table up or put me a little differently, because we don't want the lower third graphic to come up on and overlap what's there. Sometimes we've done shows on this, you don't have the kind of flexibility that we have now, so you have to design your PowerPoints kind of have or your slides to have a hole in it where you're going to put your video image of someone. So that's cool. Let's take this graphic down now. Do add interactivity and Q&A. So interactivity is what I talk about, like with another guest. If you can't get another guest, take questions from people. Have them come up on the Facebook feed, see what they're asking you. YouTube feed, whatever your feeds are, to get comments from. And the other thing that I want to stress is, you do want to make sure that you remember that your live feed has a delay in it. It could be anywhere from a few seconds to an agonizing like 10 or 15 seconds, depending on how Facebook and YouTube are going that day, unfortunately. But anytime you have to do that, make sure that you do wait and give your viewers a chance to catch up to the program. So here's a little clip of how we use the Wowza Clearcaster to bring the Facebook questions and comments right into our show live.
Is that when Gary is speaking, he can actually see comments and stuff like that on the feed itself, because we have it on a screen over here. So if somebody has a question, or if somebody has some advice for us, or if somebody is just looking to say hi, because we always love those, it'll pop up and Gary will see it, and Gary can actually interact with his audience.
If you're in technology, use your technology to sell your technology. That's what we do here. We got Oliver's on the TriCaster. We've got a new tech PTZ camera right there. We're using the stuff we sell to sell the stuff we sell. If we're going to go with a product, we have products available, but you want to show the products in use if you can, or certainly have them available to show to people, because you want to use what you're selling to help selling what you use. All right. Next, this is one of the most important ones that goes for any live stream, not just live webinars. Practice and test your stream before going live. This is critical and crucial, and always practice with the exact same setup you're going to be using during the show. Also, don't add new technology last minute, and sometimes that last minute technology change happens to you without your approval, and that is YouTube and Facebook have been known to just change things at the last minute. If you're in a situation where YouTube or Facebook throw you a curve, number one, you want to make sure you tested your show a few hours before you go live so you can try troubleshooting it. And second, if you can't get over it, go to a different CDN that day and work around it. Sometimes these guys are real pains in the you-know-what with their terms and what happens and changing things on you on the SDK. So always make sure that you have the time to learn and test new gear. And if you don't have that time and Facebook or YouTube throws you a curve, do your best and work around them if you have to. Next one's important, and a lot of people forget to do it, and that is look at that camera and smile, folks. If you're sitting there staring at your screen the whole time while you're talking to people, it doesn't really do a good job with what's there. And the other thing that's important is don't forget you might be hot, and I have to remember that. Sometimes we've got a video playing and I'm talking to people during the show and it becomes a little problem. I get embarrassed sometimes. Had some technical difficulties one show where I was talking. Remember your mic can be hot, and remind your guys who are the producers not to go live with your audio till they're sure you are ready to go live with your audio. Next one, and this is for a lot of people who aren't, I get up here, I talk about these products, I'm really good off the cuff. All I need is this little PowerPoint to guide me and I'm done, but a lot of people can use a teleprompter, and there's a lot of great teleprompters, some that'll turn your Android or iPhone into a teleprompter with a whole little mirror system. Some are more expensive, but for a few $100s up to $1,000, you can have a teleprompter. It revolves, meaning you scripted your show, but it's going to look that much better. And here's a don't that I jumped the gun, just look at your notes on your laptop stream. The more you look into the camera, the more the audience will pay attention to you, and the more prepared you are to look. That looked terrible, so now I'm going to do it again. Don't stare down at your computer screen. Look at the camera, engage people. Remember to focus if you can and look directly into the camera lens whenever possible. People like making eye contact. In fact, Jim told me, our marketing director, that Facebook is coming out with some new feature that will automatically correct your eyes if you're not staring at the camera. I prefer to make sure I'm looking ahead and looking at the right stuff. So don't be staring down at your notes or your laptop screen. Rehearse, know your stuff. Use your PowerPoint kind of as your guide. Don't make it be the be-all and end-all that you're saying. There's nothing worse than someone just standing in front of a PowerPoint and reading you the whole dang PowerPoint. It is boring. Next, use background music for intro, graphics, and breaks, but don't do what Oliver's about to do now, which is you can't have audio going while you're talking that plays over you. That's horrible. So what I was saying was, don't have audio play over you when you're going. It's good to do for segments for intros, outros. If there's some downtime, if you can show some product shots without you talking, but don't just use it for the sake of using it. And then the other one that's important is don't use copyrighted music. If you're using copyrighted music, YouTube or Facebook may mute your stream, may disable your stream. I have no idea why they do one or the other. No one's quite figured it out yet, but what I can tell you is use copyrighted music at your own risk. We always try to use royalty-free music, share music, or music that one of the local musicians we know did for us, because we ran into those problems in the past where videos were taken down off of Facebook or YouTube or were muted. So just don't use copyrighted music. It's not that hard, folks. All right, this next part is a really cool story that I want to talk about. This is what happened with us last week. Last week, one of our vendors invited us to do a virtual dinner meeting, and it was fantastic. What they did was they called us up over the phone and said, hey guys, we like to meet with you at a trade show. We have these great dinners. We break bread, we talk, we tell stories, we laugh, and we talk about products, we talk about the industry, and those are so valuable. And without having trade shows, that's one of the things we've really lost. So one of our vendors, Epiphan, invited us to a virtual dinner meeting. It was really great. 3 or 4 of us got together in our conference room, And then they had their different people from their little remote locations. And we broke bread, ate dinner together, had a little bit of wine, and we actually had a great meeting. What we scheduled for an hour went almost 2 hours long. And it was fantastic. And you know what? We accomplished some of the same great things we accomplished at our normal dinner meeting. The other thing that was kind of cool is I find Zoom kind of awkward sometimes if you have more than 4 or 5 guests because people talk on top of each other. But because it was a dinner meeting and every now and then people were eating, there were natural silences in the meeting, which was kind of cool, and it worked. And then last Friday, we did a virtual happy hour. We invited our whole team, everyone who was working here on location, plus the people working remotely. Plus, we invited several of our vendors to participate. It was really great. I think at the top, we had about 20, 25 people all together having some fun, drinking some beers, having a glass of bourbon or what have you. It was a relaxed kind of fun thing, talking to each other. And those personal connections are so important, folks. So I really recommend you do that. Have a virtual happy hour and invite your partners, invite your best customers, or your best vendors, or your staff, whatever it is, or everyone all together. But it's a really fun thing to do. We did it went really well, and I recommend it really highly. So we're up to the part where we talk about our next show. Our next show, folks, we hope to have YOLO live for you. We're really excited about the YOLO Box product. It is a self-contained Android streaming box with multiple inputs. But we say we're waiting for the units to come from China. Our first shipment got delayed. We don't have them yet. If we have them in time to do the show, I'll do the show with it. But if I can't put a unit on the desktop, we're going to wait till we can. So some other thing might come up there. So thank you for your patience on that, folks. Like I said, trade shows, they're not happening anymore. NAB, out. IBC, out. Infocom, out. NAB New York, questionable. We don't know if we're going to get it or not. If you have to go live, you have to go virtual. That's what you need to do to substitute for the fact that you can't have these trade shows. And I hope that today's do's and don'ts helped you with some tips that you could do to make your virtual trade show, your video webinars, your live streams that much better, that much more engaging, that much more fun, that much more interactive for your audience to participate in. This is Gary from Videoguys. You can call us at 800-323-2325. Please like us on Facebook and all those social media stuff. Like us on YouTube. Help the social media. Help Jamie do her job by being active on our social media. This is Gary from Videoguys. See you next Tuesday. Peace.
Videoguys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.